their media centers. Provides access to the weather from weather.com in a nice-to-use interface on the screen, and also allows you to select from, as you can see at the bottom of the screen, select different cities that you want to actually look at information and weather about. This is a screenshot of a product called LifeWare, which is a home automation solution made by a company called Exceptional Innovations in the US. And this allows you to control other elements of your home from your media center screen. This is an application, again, another Nivius application called Nivius Movie Library. And this allows you within Media Center to access Blu-ray discs, HD, DVD, your DVDs, and recorded TV, downloaded stuff from Amazon Inbox, Movie Giants, and a number of other sources, all in one place and with this movie wall on the screen rather than the standard DVD library. One thing you'll notice from all of these is they're all different. The user interfaces are all different, and this was something that Simon brought up, which is one of the brilliant things, one of the bad things I mentioned about not having any of these controls. There are no buttons, there are no pivots or anything like that made for you. But one of the good things about that is it allows people to be much more creative. They don't have to follow something that's already there. They can actually make their own applications in their own styles and do what fits the use of that particular thing, rather than being constrained by how Media Center tells you have to do it, because Media Center doesn't tell you how to do it in any particular way. You can do it any way you like. So, where next? Hopefully, those of you who are still awake, you will be thinking, wow, this is absolutely fantastic, and it doesn't look that hard after all, despite what Ian said. If you do think that this is something that you might be interested in doing, grab a hold of a copy of Visual C from Visual C Express from the Microsoft Download site. Grab a hold of the copy of the Media Center SDK. Read the help file from Media Center SDK from start to finish, because there's a lot of the stuff in there that will tell you the kind of things you really need to know. And it will give you pointers to things before you actually get to a point of writing something and then thinking, oh, how do I do this? It'll actually help you write them in a much better way. Play with the MCML sampler in the SDK. This shows you some of the features that the Media Center MCL markup language has in it, and how to generate basic elements using it. So it has a basic button in there, it has basic checkboxes and so on. They're not with the kind of graphics we saw here, but they're something that give you the overall concept of how to do things. There are two sample applications that come with the Media Center Software Developers Kit. One is called Q, which is for reading RSS feeds, that's it. And Z is a media browsing application. And both of those will give you good insight again into how to write Media Center applications and how the people that wrote the platform think that you should write Media Center applications. Experiment with creating your own controls. We talked earlier on about how there aren't any of these available for you. Spending the time to actually put together your own button and see how that works. There's a tool called MCML Pad, which allows you to very quickly view what happens when you put some markup code together, and that will let you see those controls and interact with them and see what you can do. Experiment with creating layouts. Layouts are the hardest thing to deal with in Media Center markup language, because they're very confusing the way they work. We tend to think, as traditional developers, tend to think of things on a point coordinate system, whereas Media Center doesn't want you to do that, because the screen sizes, it might be on a 40-inch plasma today, and then on a small screen or a laptop screen tomorrow. So it wants you to think in terms of flowing layouts, and layouts that dock, and layouts that are anchored to different elements, rather than everything being positioned absolute on the screen. So playing with that is experimenting with that before you actually get down to writing an application. Get help from the community. Discuss.mediacentersandbox.com is the Microsoft website forum for Media Center developers. It's where I spend a lot of time hanging out. And if you want to, if you have any questions, if you want to do some work and have any questions, then that's the place to go for your answers. And finally, start developing. It really is as simple as it looks on here. Right? It looks simple. Everyone's going, oh my god. It really is simple to do. Obviously, it's a bit like, what's the game? Othello, where they say it takes minutes to learn but a lifetime to master. It's something that there will always be new things to learn on it, but to start doing basic things in Media Center markup language, if you've ever done any programming before, you'll have a whale of a time, and you'll be able to produce something that thousands of people all over the world will want to see, and will be sitting there showing their kids on their TV going, look at this cool application that I've got. Okay. Any questions?
Andrew, with how much active development did Microsoft put into the SDK? So kind of with the move to then Windows 7, has the SDK kind of moved on, and are you guys getting more tools to develop new stuff?
The two areas that they've concentrated on with the SDK for Windows 7, one is fixing the problems that exist in Windows Vista. If you imagine, we're on a Windows Vista is basically the version 1 of the Media Center markup language. So there are a number of things that you just can't know how it's going to interact when you get all sorts of weird developers out there trying to do all sorts of weird and wonderful things. So a lot of the things that are there are things they've fixed so that developers who have said, this is really killing us because it just doesn't work properly. They've fixed those elements. Things like being able to have only one copy of your application open at a time, and taking over the way that media works. So you can start playing something with media, and even if someone backs out of your application, it doesn't close it down. It stays alive as long as your media is playing. There's stuff around things called panel sessions, which allow you to, again, have an application that stays running and takes over the screen for when there's a video on the screen. So you can actually overlay stuff on the video screen, even though the user doesn't feel like they've done anything other than go into TV in a normal way. And various other minor things. Editable text that you can put passwords in. There's a thing called a secure editable text that allows you to put passwords in and it puts stars on the screen instead. And editable digits, so that if you just want to be able to type in a number, it allows you to stop any other characters. So very, very minor changes, because the platform, the concept of the platform is everything is very simplistic for a reason, that you have those three elements: text, graphic, colour film, and everything can be derived from there, rather than something like Windows Presentation Foundation, which has got 1001 controls that might get updated on each different release of the platform. Any other questions? If people are interested in learning more, and we have any more of these sessions, if we have a longer session, I'm more than happy to do a longer and much less breakneck speed introduction to it for people who would actually like to learn how to do this stuff, and take them through kind of a workshop lab type environment to start developing their own applications. And if no one signs up for that kind of thing, I know where you all live.
Andrew, have you got a question for these good people in the prize?
Oh gosh.
We have a nice keyboard, it's near the keyboard of the panel. Again, donated by Whittaker Associates and the Media Centre Expert.com. Not too difficult.
There aren't that many APIs, sure. List them in order.
Okay, we'll go for one that if anyone's been listening, they should get this very easily, because I mentioned it several times. There's a control that everyone who writes Media Center applications always wants, because it's very difficult to write. It sits at the top of the screen here. What is it called? Was it here? Yes. Yes.
Hey, well done.
One of the questions from the audience, not a question that comes with a prize. What things do you see that you feel are missing from Media Center that could be addressed using the extensibility SDK for people to write applications for Media Center?
That's a link into Windows Server directly from Media Center.
What kind of